pachymeter is unlike any other pachymeter in the market. It works by the way of corneal waveform technology, which means that the pachymeter will capture ultra high definition echogram of the cornea and corneal stroma, and will give you the analysis of corneal thickness. This pachymeter has different modes: the central corneal thickness mode, corneal map mode, corneal epithelial mode, femtosecond flap mode, and the dissect thin flap mode. And we will talk about each one of these in time. So first, starting with the central corneal thickness mode, you want to make sure that the pachymeter probe is connected to the machine and press the start. The machine will give you a window with the echogram of the cornea on top, and then place the probe on the eye, and the machine will automatically go through a series of measurements. The echogram is displayed up here. Standard deviation of all these measurements was 3 microns, 3.16 microns. The average of all of them was 693 micron. On the central thickness mode, the machine will also do adjustment of IOP. So if you're using the Goldman tonometer, you can either do the adjustment of minus 6.35 for this corneal thickness, or you can enter the IOP measurements of your Goldman and have the machine do the calculation for you, and it will display the adjusted IOP down here. Next is the corneal map mode, which allows you to map all locations within the cornea. There's a 16 location map, and it's as if you're holding the pachymeter directly against the patient's eye. So this is the right eye, and this would be the superior, inferior, superior nasal, inferior nasal, superior temporal, inferior temporal, temporal, and nasal. So just as if you're holding the machine right against the patient's eye. So you will select the location of the cornea that you will be measuring, and then apply the probe directly on that location, and you will continue throughout all the locations that you want to measure. Now I would like to talk about the epithelial mode of the palm scan. By selecting the epithelial mode, you enter that, you press the start, and you may have to do the measurement through the soft contact lens, otherwise the probe tip will squeeze the epithelium and you won't be able to measure. And what you'll see, if we go into the corneal waveform, and I'm going to zoom out, we should be able to see the transducer contact interface. And this is my contact lens interface, and this is the Bowman layer that can clearly be seen in this scan. As I said, this pachymeter gives you the ability to measure any echogram manually. So if you were to measure this measurement by yourself, you can put a cursor right on top of the corneal spike and one on the Bowman layer, and do the measurement of the epithelial thickness, which in this case is 15.9 micron, which was what was recorded automatically by the device. Next, I would like to talk about the femtosecond flap mode, and by selecting the femtosecond flap, you enter the flap mode, and it's very easy to use. You make sure that the patient is comfortably in front of the femtosecond machine, and then cut the cornea with the femtosecond machine. But before lifting it, you press the start, and you place the transducer on top of the cornea with the micro bubble layer intact. And what the machine should do is it should do a series of measurements. And what I usually do is I just run it across the corneal bed, and the machine will give you the average flap thickness, the average bed thickness, and the average corneal thickness. It also gives you the minimum and maximum for different locations. Okay, so you know that you're not too thin or too thick. With this mode, you can also look at the echograms and you'll be able to see the microbubble layer also. The last thing I would like to talk about is the dissect thin flap mode, which is made to calculate thin corneas between 49 micron to 250 micron. So you basically select the location on the thin dissect or thin corneal flap that you want to measure, and you touch that location. So, for example, this cornea was measured at 97 micron, and this will go down to 49 micron in thickness and as high as 250 micron. So for higher than that, you would have to do CCT mode. It goes from 120 microns to 1200 microns. The last thing I want to talk about on the pachymeter is the LRI section, and you will select the LRI mode like so. You press the scan, and you're ready to do a LRI scan on the patient. It has different nomograms built in. One is a Napa nomogram, and the other one is my nomogram, which takes into consideration the Laplace law, which is the amount of tension in the corneal, amount of tension in the corneal stroma, given the intraocular pressure and the thickness of the cornea and the corneal curvature. So, for example, if using a Napa nomogram, you enter the age of the patient. Let's say patient is 67. You enter the flat K, let's say 44, and steep K. Let's give this patient true diopter of corneal astigmatism. And now you need to enter the steep axis, for example, 90 degree. So at this point, you're ready to do the calculation, and you press the calculate. The machine is going to ask you to do valid pachymetry, and you have to say yes to that. So it will bring you into the corneal map mode, and it will put an X mark on the locations in the cornea that it would like you to measure. And as I said, along the steep axis and the next corresponding 2 points to it. And you select the location. For example, this would be in the right eye superior and superior nasal, superior temporal, and so on. And then touch the probe to that corresponding position. Now, I usually cut right